All right, well, it's 3 o'clock and we have a lot of material to go through, so I think I'm going to go ahead and start. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Penelope Weinberger. I am the Census Transportation Planning Products Program Manager at AASHTO, and welcome to this refresher course in CTPP2000, which was the Census Transportation Planning Package 2000. We are recording this webinar, and it will be published later for listening to. And just a little housekeeping note on whether you can chime in and ask questions. Everyone is on mute, so to unmute your individual line, you would hit *6 on your telephone, or you can fire a question into the chat pod, and we'll try and monitor that and ask questions as we go along. The order of presentation today is that I'm going to talk for just a few minutes about the CTPP 2000, and then Liang Long, Dr. Long, will give a demonstration of how to use the CTPP 2000 software. And she's going to be going back and forth a little bit between her computer where she is demoing the actual software, and because of some of the limitations of this webinar, she's also going to use a PowerPoint sort of interspersed. And at that point, she's going to take control of the size of the presentation, so she'll have full screen, so it'll be harder to type chat questions in at that point, but you'll be able to unmute yourself if you have a question. One of the reasons that we're doing this webinar today is because the new CTPP is coming out, the Census Transportation Planning Products data for 2006 to 2010 is expected in August of this year, and it's going to be the first full coverage small area data set that will be produced since the CTPP 2000. And we know a lot of you people out there are going to want to do some trend analysis and some comparative analysis of various things. So this is an opportunity for us to give you a little refresher on how to access this data set. This was the last small area full coverage data set produced in 2000. So can you go to the next slide, Liang? So what the CTPP 2000 is, these are hot topics, of course, they were 10 years ago anyway when the data first came out. So what it is a data set that's based on the last long-form demographic data that was collected. So that data was collected in 2000, and a special tabulation was commissioned in 2000, and after that data were collected to have the CTPP 2000. So what I'm going to talk about today is that data, what it's based on. I'm going to talk about the tables that came from it, the geographic summary levels that are available still. I'm going to talk a little bit about rounding and suppression rules, and I'm going to talk about the margin of error. Next slide, please. So the table list and geographic summary levels for the CTPP 2000 is that similar to the data that you know now and that you're used to working with, it was based on, there are 3 parts to the data. There's a part 1, residence-based tables, of which there were 120. Workplace-based tables, there were 66, and there were 14 flows between home and work part 3 tables. And the geography that it applies to are places with 25,000 or more population, and urbanized areas were only available for part 1, the residence-based data. If you were to click this link that I have at the bottom of my screen, please go to the next slide, you would be taken to the FHWA page on the Census Transportation Planning Products. Next slide, please, Leon. And it looks just like this. So this was the page that was built back when. It's been updated since then. And it talks about the proposed 2000 standard tabulations, and there are the variable descriptions available. You can click on it, and as you can see, since this is a screenshot, part 1, tables are clicked because this will give you the table list of the tables that were available. Next slide, please. So here's just a list of the tables that were available in part 1. The first table was time leaving home to go to work, and there are 40 categories of time leaving home. So the number in parenthesis refers to the number of categories in each variable. So 3, sex 3, by means of transportation to work 18. Of course, we all know that the 3 sexes were male, female, and, okay, it's total, I won't leave you hanging. But anyway, so this list is available. This list is also available in the download pod. Liang, if you could go from full screen back to the regular size, so that we can show people where the download pod is. Thanks. So just below my presentation is the download pod. The CTPP 2000 table list PDF is this list of all part 1, 2, and 3 tables that were available in the CTPP 2000. Go on to the next slide, please, and let's leave it at this size, please. So, of course, rounding and suppression rules were introduced with the CTPP 2000, and here are some caveats about using the data after you access it again. all the tables are rounded and the totals are rounded independently of the cells. So the rounding rules for the tables are that if a cell value is 0, it is 0. If a cell value is between 1 and 7, it's rounded to 4. And if a cell value is 8 or greater, it's rounded to the nearest multiple of 5. So a 43 would become 45, 71 would become 70, 2,852 would become 2,850, and so on. So first the tables are rounded, but then the totals are also rounded according to these same rounding rules. So if one of the cells is a 1 through 7 cell and rounded to 4, and you have some 4s in your total, those are not going to add up to 5, but they will be rounded to the nearest multiple of 5 of the total. Percents and rates were calculated after rounding with just some exceptions. And medians and aggregates have to be based on 3 or more values, which is one of the reasons that tables were suppressed. If there weren't 3 or more values for a cell in a table, the table was suppressed. And if you were to click on the link at the bottom of this slide, it would take you to an article on the rounding rules that's quite insightful and well written. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is a note of caution that's back on that page that I showed you that you could have clicked on. That's using Part 3, which are the flow tables, from the CTPP2000, a note of caution. And basically what the caution says is, and there is a typo on this page, so listen to this. For some worker flow tables, there must be 3 unweighted records for each origin and destination pair. So this was true, and I'm going to show you a list of the tables for which it is true. At small area geography, data from those affected tables, which were the poverty status table, minority status table, household income, means of transportation, and household income by means of transportation, are severely affected. So they should be used with caution because of the unweighted record requirement. Next slide, please. So here's a listing of these. The first 2 tables had no record threshold. They're pretty safe to use. The next 5 were the ones I just mentioned. They must have 3 unweighted records. And then when you go on to 8 through 14, they didn't have a record threshold, so again, they're a little bit safer to use. Another note about this data set is that if you're used to the 3-year data set that we published, and certainly census data now is all published with the margin of error together with the estimate, and that's how the next CTPP will be also. So in the 2000 data was not published with the margin of error, and the 2000 special tabulation CTPP was also not published with the margin of error. So in order to get the margin of error, if you need it, you can estimate the MOE, know the survey design factor, and the way to learn these things is to go to this file. Ed, do you want to talk a little bit about this Chapter 8 accuracy of the data information and where to find it and how to use it?
My name is Ed Christopher. I'm with Federal Highway, the Resource Center, and did a lot of work on the CTPP and the CTPP2000. What Penelope's put up here is it's actually a very long document that gets into the, well, simply stated, the accuracy of the data. And one of the things that we're featuring here is when you're working with the new ACS data, trying to establish and doing your statistical significance testing when you're working with your margins of error and you're comparing one number to another number to want to say is it statistically significant. When you go back to the 2000 data, because it doesn't have margins of error, you have to calculate your margin of error yourself. And in this report, they give you the formulas for calculating it. But one of the things that you need to know that you have to derive, besides just using a formula to come up with a standard deviation and then the margin of error, is you have to come up with something called a survey design factor, and that's in an appendice in this report too. And each question in the survey has a separate survey design factor. But again, you know, this document is online, and I guess that's about all I can say for it.
Okay, thanks, Ed. And now I just want to say that there's one more really great resource, and Ed told me not to mention this, but I'm going to anyway, the CTPP2000 Electronic Guidebook, which I have not given you a link for, but it's available at ctpp.transportation.org, and on the left-hand navigation of that website, it'll say Training Materials and Training Materials for the CTPP2000, and there you can download the entire CD, and it is really the comprehensive work on working with the CTPP2000 data. That is about a 200 meg download, though, so beware. I mean, you are downloading basically the entire guidebook. So I'm going to turn this presentation over to Liang Long now, and she is going to lead us through a software demonstration. And as I mentioned before, Dr. Long is going to be switching back and forth between her PowerPoint and between a live demo. So she's definitely going to use full screen. So at this point, if you have any questions about anything, please just unmute your phone line by hitting *6 on your own phone and just speak up. And we'll take it from there. Take it away, Liang.
So hello everyone, my name is Liang Long and I'm working for Cambridge Systematics in Washington DC office. And I'm working for both Federal Highway and AASHTO on the CTPP program. So Panoply already gave you a brief introduction on the CTPP2000. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to access the data. So CTPP2000 are archived in the Bureau of Transportation Statistics website. And the website is called the BTA's TrustStat. And the link in the yellow box is the link to the BTA's TrustStat. And if you type CTPP in the search box here and click Go, and you should be able to see 3 CTPP-related database. So we have CTPP 1990. I'm not going to talk about the 1990 data today, but as always, if you have any questions on the CTPP 1990, feel free to call me or email me. And there's 2 CTPP 2000 database. The first one is the data in CSV format. So this database is more designed for advanced data user, power data user, because you will have to import the data to access Excel, SAS, SPSS, whatever the software you're comfortable with. And the second one here is the CTPP 2000 data with the Access software. Because 10 years ago, we had a software vendor, and we got this software, and we have the data CDs. So you will need to both software and the data CD to access the data. And we used to distribute data CDs, but a couple of years ago, we have switched from mailed CDs to data download system. So the bottom line is we don't distribute CTPP 2000 CDs anymore. So now I'm going to move to the CSV format. So if you click the link here, and this should lead you to a page like this. So in this page, you can download the CTPP 2000 data in CSV format. And the data is organized by 3 parts. Part 1, residence, part 2, workplace, and part 3. And part 3 is not shown here because this is a screenshot. And for each part, the data is further organized by different tables. So we have total of 120 tables for table 1. So for table, we have a total of 120 tables for part 1. So we have several packages here for part 1. And if you click the download on the right, you should be able to download the data for each individual part. And the one thing I would suggest our user is to have a list of tables in front of you. In order to use this CSV format downloading system, you will have to know the table number you are looking for. Because the first one, for example, is the CTPP 2000 Part 1, Table 1 to 17. So I would suggest you download the table list from our webinar room and take a look at the table list and get the table number you want. So, for example, if I'm looking for Part 1 residence data and the table 001 to 003, what I have to do is I click download here. And this will lead you to a page like this. So in this page, you can check each box in front of the table number to select tables you would like to download. So we have selected table 001, 002, and 003. And You can select state, state county, state. Example, state county is example. And I would for all your county. Zip file and the data. And it's a state county. We have the estimates are file, and which comes with from row 22. And paste CSV format. CTPP2000. So for these boundary files, they have MSA and merge the data from the BTA access tool. So if you could and you click down, you will have to install the software. So data CDs are organized. So I will click download. So if you want Arizona, I'd like to mention is the download. So it's called the Part 1 Alaska. And you need to, you will be used for your future, for your website. You will have to unzip once to get the I want to mention and it's used machines are 64 about the 60-bit your machine. So you only need to install the software was 16-bit problem. So if you would like to get county-to-county workflows from 1917, 1980, all the way to 2000, so this information is available in Cambridge. Move ahead to the data access software demo. So I'm going to share my screen.
If there are any questions about what Liang has said so far, just type *6 to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask, or type the question into chat right now.
Great. So now what is showing in the screen is the CTPP2000 data access software interface. So once you have the software installed in your machine and you open it, you should be able to see an interface like this. And the little folder here is called the Session Manager. So if it's your first time to use this software, the session list here should be empty. But I have been playing this software a little bit, so I have three sessions here. So you can create a new session, and you can also edit your existing session. So now I'm going to show you how to create a new session. So the first thing you need to do is you need to select a part. So if you're working on the data, part 1, residence, so check this one. And if you're working on the data for part 2, check this one. Same thing if you're working for flows, residence to workplace flows. So you're working on part 3 data, then you should check this one. So Elaine, you're asking any questions? I saw that the chat part.
Resolution because it's really
Okay, so I'm going to change my computer resolution.
I think it's fine. I can see it fine.
Yeah, so Ed, what do you think?
It's fine, but you're changing it right now because I can see a change happening.
Right.
But what I want to remind people of is they can also click full screen and control full screen on their own end and make it even bigger.
Right. That's a good point. There's a button that says full screen in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. If you click it, the presentation will get a little bit larger.
Okay, so I'm just go ahead. So that's the select part. And the second thing you need to do is you need to select the data path. So as I mentioned in previous presentation, you need to download data CDs from our BDS TrustNet. So this data path is basically wherever you saved your data CD. So you can change your data path by click change here. So in my case, I already saved the data in like Washington data, Part 3 data here. So they look totally fine with me. So I click OK. And you can change your data path by clicking here. And the last thing is the session path. So session path is where you save your sessions. So it can be in your local directory, wherever you save your CTPP2000 data. So you can change your session path here, but this looks fine with me. So I click OK, and then you create you click create. So in my example, I'm going to do part 1. So I'm going to click create, and then you need to put a session name. So in our example, hold on one second. So in our example, the data CD is the part 1, and it's the Texas data. So for example, I'm trying to get the means of transportation information for Dallas County. And it's part 1. So you click OK. And this I know now you are seeing the blue hatch because this window is blocked by this Adobe software. So Ed, can you plot my presentation? So I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint so you can see the session creating part. Great. Here we go. Next one. Here we go. So basically, this is the window are blocked by the software. So this creating session window is where you can select your geographic area and the tables. And the first step you need to do is select the geographic type. So you can select county, state county, state place, MSA, census tract, etc. And then you can after selecting summary level, you can select your areas by clicking so here, for example, you can click the Dallas County geographic area. And the part 1 for we are looking and then all I'm going to show. is the part 1 data, and we select the table 1002, sex by means of for all tracts for Dallas County here. And the table dimensions. And what you will have to do is you put the cursor on the top of the table dimension you would like to switch. Means of transportation dimension has been switched with the sex. So I want to switch between GeoID with the means of transportation target and job. Is a two-dimension table for this. And in order to see other things, where also allows us to do the customized grouping. So for example, so if you, I forgot one thing. So if you want to do the, if you want to then you go to the item, go to the define group. Because previously I forgot to check means of in, and I checked the GeoID. So all the elements showing are in this tool. So I check computed, and then and I click OK. So now carpool as a customized group has been added to the last row, and you can delete the and you can delete island. So carpool is delete. Shape. Okay, so doesn't matter because so once you click this drop down arrow, you should be able to see all kinds of format here. So you can to your computer. Mapping function. So once you click the mapping function and back, I'm not going to demo the map in the software because it's blocked by the Adobe again. So here is an example to create a chart. So the software gave us options to create a chart and also create the thematic map. I think the thematic map is the best function I like. So once you get the data, you click the map on the top, map function on the top, and then you can create a thematic map by click the icon in the toolbar. And all the information you have selected will be displayed in this map. And you can define number of classes. You can define your color. Then you get a really pretty GIS map. Then you can export the map to for your documentation. And I think that pretty much covered the data access tool. So, and also pretty much about my presentation. So I think so Planobi, should we take any questions?
Yes, I think we should take questions if anybody has any, absolutely. So you could go from full screen, there we go. And so if anyone has any questions, they can unmute themselves by typing *6, or they can type it into chat, and it looks like somebody is typing a question into chat right now. Oh, a few questions are coming in. It's very exciting. The first one to hit will be the first one we answer. Oh, multiple attendees are typing.
They're just chatting amongst themselves.
No.
What I wanted to do, though, Penelope, kind of just to rehash. So if you want to work with the 2000 data, one of the things you can do is you go to the BTS website, get the extraction software, download it, load it onto your computer, make sure your computer is not 64-bit or you're going to have to work around that issue, and then get the data files and bring them in. Did I get the gist of it?
Yes. Liang and Tara Weiner wants to know if you can demo the Part 3 flows. Is that something that you're comfortable doing right now? To the San Diego Association of Governments, there is a different tool being released to support the ACS-based CTPP. It's going to be a web-based product. It'll be available on the internet. You can have a user account on that system on the internet, or you can not have a user account and just go in and grab a simple table when you need one. It's, yes, it's going to be a relational database with excellent mapping software.
Right. The good thing about the ACS-based CTPP is that you don't need to download and install the software in your own computer. I think that's going to save lots of time and energy.
Yes, and in answer to the next question, the CTPP 2010, which actually we like to call the CTPP 2006 through 10 data, is coming because, of course, it's not a single snapshot like the 2000 was based on Census Day 2000. It's based on the period estimate from the American Community Survey. It will not have the same software interface as this. It's a different interface. We're going to be training on that. Ed and I will be training on that. We'll definitely do a webinar or two on showing that software when it's finished being developed. And one thing that our program is talking about doing and planning on doing is to bring this CTPP 2000 data set into that software when we get it up and rolling. We've got a couple of projects going that are helping us look at whether that's something that would be really useful to have. And depending on our future funding scenario, it's something that we are very likely to want. So to Mr. Cog, the Mid-River Council of Governments, no, it's not correct, your understanding. You can access the data tables through Transstats, but you still need to download the Access tool. So
unless you want to use the CSV format. So there are two options. The first option is using the CSV format, which do not require any software because it's raw data is CSV format. All you have to do is download the CSV format and use Excel to open it. But if you want to use the Access software, you will have to have both the software installed and the data CDs in your local computer.
Oh, my apologies. I always thought you had to get the software too, but of course this is a little before my time.
No, and he's correct with the second part too. If you use what we call the Access tool, the extraction software, it does make it easier to manipulate. At least in my experience, Leong's a little bit more of a power user and probably enjoys it.
She thinks it's easier to manipulate it also in the Access tool because you can drag and drop the variables so you can get it in a table. CTPP2010, I'm not sure I understand that question. If you're asking when it's going to be available, we're expecting it to be publicly available with its data. Software and development more related to the functionality of things. Bureau. And since the special tabulation
They
answering the questions.
Okay, sure. So Ed, can you bring up software now?
And also, Leong, don't we have a cheat sheet on how to do this that's still on our website?
On what? I'm sorry.
Pulling up the part CTPP2000.
I think so. It's something that Clara. Later. But I'm going to demo the so in order my data path here is the part 3 data for Washington, saying WA. Still for King County where Elaine lives. So I click OK. So I got
Going.
So I'm trying to get the cheat sheet for part 3. Sorry, the software is not showing because of some security reason.
And what I just posted was the link to the website. Look at materials.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time to do a advertisement in the post office last time. Everything is now pretty much web-based. So there is new e-learning for the new CTPP using ACS, and that's on the AASHTO.
Uh, 2000 Access Software Part 3 cheat sheet. I'm trying to share the cheat sheet, share the screen of the cheat sheet, and it looks like it's not working.
Yeah,
No.
it doesn't look like so. So Tara, make sure that you capture this. CTPP/data product to get that cheat sheet to work with the Part 3 data. Not just Tara, but everybody.
Yeah, it's a live link. If you click on it, you go right to the web page too.
Then you can bookmark it, and then you'll have it. So are there any other questions today?
So one of your slides, Penelope, was about the margin of error in 2000. But the sample size of the actual unweighted records is probably about double the unweighted sample from the 5-year accumulated ACS. So the margins of error from 2000 are much, much smaller than the ACS 5-year accumulation. Oh, look, there it is.
Point. Oh,
Right. So what I'm showing here is the cheat sheet for the CTPP Access tool for Part 3. So I think this window was blocked when I was trying to show and share. So once you get this box, you need to select from residence geography out or to workplace geography in, or both. This means that if you, for example, I'm doing the workflow from King County, Washington, So if you only would like to get flows from King County to all other areas, so you need to select the first one. But if you would like to get flows to King County, Washington, then you need to select the second one. And if you would like to get flows both from King County and to King County, then you need to select the last one. So that's the trick part of the part 3.
Right, so the point of the Part 3 data is that you have the option of selecting an open-ended flow from a specific residence or set of residences to everywhere, as Liang said, or an open-ended flow from everywhere to a specific set of workplaces or a single workplace, or to select both the residence and the workplace. And it does not have to be the same place. You could select as a residence New York State and as a workplace the state of California, for instance.
Right. So other than this part, I think the geographic selection, table selection are pretty much similar to part 2, other than you need to select both residence and workplace, I believe. So because it's flows, so you have the option of selecting both sides. So that's the difference. And other than that, it's quite similar to part 1.
Well, it seems like we've run out of questions for the day, and I think we've covered all the material that we intended to cover. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating in this refresher course on the CTPP2000, and as I mentioned before, this webinar was recorded and it will be published, and we will send a link to the CTPP listserv, of which we hope you're all members, so that you can review it or you can share it around for people that you think will like to see it.
I think that there's a question about the limit and the precaution of this data. So Ed or Planobi, you want to take a...
That's all yours, Ed.
Yeah, I'm going to ask if whoever typed this could *6, and because I'm not quite understanding
What the question is.
the question. I mean, there's a variety of different
graphical limit, which is that it's for places 2,500 or greater, but the precautions of this data are you should be a smart and savvy data user to use it. Is that...
Right. I think one caution I want to warn is the suppression for pass-through data. So if you are using flows to validate or calibrate your model, be sure to take a look at the list that Planobi presented, because some of the tables are suppressed, and you may want to use unsuppressed table for your modeling, for your model validation.
Right. The error's not included. In 2000, the Census Bureau did not include the margin of error as a standard piece of data that came with a data estimate. They have changed their practice since then and now do include a margin of error together with every estimate.
Yeah, you can go out and calculate it and come up with an estimate of your own margin of error. And I know Liang's got a lot of experience doing it, because one of the things we've done through the CTPP program is put out what we call profile sheets, and on our profile sheets we do a lot of comparisons with 2000 data and actually have the margins of error already calculated. And although they tend to be smaller, sometimes